Chapter 121, Collapsible Space Shuttle. One of Frank's wings were torn. The equilibrium of his body was suddenly broken, causing Frank to fall rapidly from the air. He felt an intense pain in his back, and what made him feel even more humiliated was that Feng Lin was completely riding on him like how one would ride a mount. His entire person slammed into the ground, and one of his wings was plucked off, creating a huge bleeding wound. As for the other wing, it was also broken from the impact. Although he was an angel, he didn't feel impressive enough now that his wings were broken and he was knocked down to the ground by Feng Lin. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of heavy panting rang out as a gigantic green silhouette walked over and stood behind Feng Lin. This was none other than the green giant earlier. Without Frank giving it commands, Feng Lin finally completely hypnotized the green giant, allowing him to control the green giant at will. Hand over the space shuttle and I can spare your life. Feng Lin calmly spoke. Although Frank plotted against him, it was also true that Feng Lin had benefited a lot from entering the giant pharmaceutical company. If he wanted Feng Lin to spare his life, it would have to depend on whether Frank wanted to make the right choice or not. Box Novelco M. If Feng Lin forced Frank too far, the net would be broken and the fish would die. Feng Lin wouldn't be able to obtain anything. Cough cough. Frank suffered heavy injuries and was coughing heavily, spitting out blood. He inclined his head and laughed in a low voice. Do you really think that you've won? Suddenly, he called out in a loud voice, Titanen. German for Titan. There was a cadence to his intonation, and his words seemed like an ancient curse trying to awaken a terrifying existence. Kacha, kacha. Feng Lin gazed over only to discover that the stone sculpture-like body of the Titan started to move. His eyelids were slowly opening as a faint divine light flashed within. It was rapidly waking up. Feng Lin felt great shock. Before this, one experiment test subject had awakened the wings of wind and thunder and had already become an interstellar cultivator. Yet, that test subject was insta-killed by the Titan. Most probably, the strength level of this Titan had already reached the level of elite cultivators. Although this Titan might be an inferior product, he wasn't someone Feng Lin could win against currently. But since Frank didn't use the Titan before this, it most likely meant that it wasn't so simple to awaken the Titan. There must be a requirement for time and a certain procedure. Frank roared again, Auf, wake. As he called out, Feng Lin could clearly feel the genetic energy in Frank's body gushing out toward the Titan, wanting to awaken the Titan's life instinct. Feng Lin naturally wouldn't be so silly as to allow Frank to finish the procedure. With a squeeze of his hand, the sounds of calling suddenly faded away as he forcefully dislocated Frank's chin. Frank wouldn't be able to speak again. Only his eyes were still darting about, filled with anxiousness. The movements of the Titan also slowly stilled. He then exerted force and shifted Frank's chin back to its original location. Aufwachen. Awaken, Frank roared. The Titan moved again as his eyes gleamed with light. With another squeeze, Feng Lin dislocated Frank's chin again. Seeing how stubborn Frank was, Feng Lin no longer wasted words. He shifted Frank's chin back to the same position and upon seeing Frank was preparing to shout, he dislocated it again. This repeated a few times. Frank's mouth area was already extremely swollen. He knew it was no longer possible for him to awaken the Titan, and he stopped struggling. You finally learned how to be obedient? Feng Lin fixed his chin back in the right position once more and stared into Frank's eyes. Give me the space shuttle, I can allow you to leave here. Frank remained silent. He simply ruthlessly glared at Feng Lin. His eyes were filled with venom and hatred. The accumulated knowledge on the space shuttle, information and substances, were the last hope of the giant pharmaceutical company. How would he be willing to give that out? If it was said that the Mars Revolutionary Army was the one that destroyed the giant pharmaceutical company's current base, Feng Lin could be said to be the one who destroyed the last hopes of the giant pharmaceutical company reviving. He only had immense hatred for Feng Lin in his heart. He wasn't willing to divulge anything. "You're unwilling to speak?" Feng Lin coldly laughed. "You have no choice in this matter." He suddenly formed gestures with his fingers as a formless ripple radiated from him, gushing into Frank's mind. Frank had a look of terror on his face. He had forgotten the fact that Feng Lin was proficient in hypnotism. Feng Lin's gestures suddenly changed, transforming into the god-beating whip imprint. "Ha!" he breathed out. The power he exuded was incomparably tyrannical as he ruthlessly whipped down. The mental energy he channeled into this imprint transformed into something corporeal. Frank's countenance was contorted. Under the whipping, he felt that his mental defenses were crumbling and his mind descended into chaos. After that, Feng Lin's gesture changed into the yin-yang imprint, causing those who saw it be in a daze as they fell inside an illusion. The light in Frank's eyes slowly turned muddy as he became numb. Feng Lin first used the god-beating whip imprint to destroy Frank's mental defenses before using the yin-yang mirror imprint to completely hypnotize Frank. "Where is the space shuttle?" Feng Lin asked in a low voice. "On me," Frank mumbled. "On you?" Feng Lin was startled. What situation was this? How could a giant space shuttle be hidden on one's body? However, Frank was already completely hypnotized, and he would obediently obey all orders. It was almost impossible for him to lie. Feng Lin's eyes flashed. He continued to ask in more detail, "Where is it exactly?" Frank stretched out his hand. On one of his fingers, there was a button-sized ring that exuded a sense of technology. "This is my space shuttle ring. It's a collapsible space shuttle. If you wear it, it would automatically sync your genetic information with the shuttle. As long as you input the correct password, you would be granted the highest authority. The password is WYCWDS20181210. Frank completely stopped resisting and revealed the full-length password, not trying to hide anything at all. Feng Lin took the ring from his finger and wore it on his own. He could feel tiny needles from the ring pricking him. He cast a glance at it. The tiny needles were genetic probes that used advanced technology to bind items to their users. This was very normal. He didn't use his genetic ability. In an instant, the ring received his genetic information. Genetic binding success. After it succeeded, Feng Lin began to input the password to obtain the highest levels of authority. After that was completed, a stream of information appeared before Feng Lin's eyes immediately. Feng Lin's eyes gleamed. He understood that Frank truly didn't lie. This was a collapsible space shuttle. By using the advanced technology of space folding, the space shuttle was kept inside a fold-in space, and one could bring it with them anywhere they went. Usually, this technology was used for mechas and large-scale high-tech equipment like space shuttles. Such a technology shouldn't be something the backward solar system would have. Could it be that there are still other secrets to the giant pharmaceutical company? Did they receive the support of a supreme interstellar empire? Feng Lin started to get suspicious, and just when he was prepared to ask further, a sound rang out. Feng Lin glanced over only to see Frank's mouth was filled with blood. He actually bit his tongue. As an interstellar cultivator, no matter how powerful the hypnotism would be, his instincts would warn him that something was wrong sooner or later. He depended on this brutal method to awaken himself. "Do you really think that you have already obtained victory? I want you to die." Frank spat out word by word, his expression malevolent to the extreme. Rumble. The eyes of the Titan shone with light again as he suddenly came to life. His giant fists smashed the glass cabin and spoke in a cold voice. The authorized owner has encountered a major life-threatening danger. The awakening process has gone into automatic mode. Feng Lin felt great shock. He didn't expect that there was a second way to wake the Titan up. He had miscalculated. This artificial god has come to life. Chapter 122, Fighting an Artificial God. Rumble. The over 5 meters tall gigantic Titan broke free of its cage and leaped out. It radiated an aura that made it seem imposing without being angry, and an overwhelming pressure like the tide gushed over. Feng Lin's expression instantly turned heavy. Quickly kill him. Frank gritted his teeth and commanded. Feng Lin's expression changed. Just as he was prepared to act now to kill Frank, the Titan suddenly moved. At the moment Feng Lin's hand came in contact with Frank's neck, he could end Frank's life in an instant with just a gentle squeeze. But in the blink of an eye, boom. A thunderous rumble rang out as a gigantic figure charged over. A sense of danger arose in Feng Lin's heart. He had no time to kill Frank and had to choose to dodge aside. A giant fist arced through the space next to his body, grazing him slightly. However, just this slight graze was enough to make Feng Lin feel intense pain. What? Feng Lin lowered his head and looked. His skin, which was originally as tough as iron, was now damaged. A layer of it had been peeled off from the impact, revealing red-colored flesh as blood oozed out of it. This Titan was as expected of an artificially created god. The might of a single fist was actually so terrifying. He didn't have any time to feel amazement. That Titan charged over once again, transforming into a hurricane. One could very well imagine how fast the Titan was as he reached Feng Lin in the blink of an eye. What a swift speed! This Titan's speed definitely has surpassed 100 meters in 1 second. He is way faster than me. Feng Lin was incomparably amazed. With his opponent possessing such speed, it was almost impossible to dodge. He could only forcibly face it head-on. Primordial flag imprint. Feng Lin's hands moved in a circular motion before his chest, like 2 gigantic gates erected in defense. But at the next instant, he felt like he was slammed by a mountain-sized hammer. Kacha! His bones let out a creaking sound as the limit of the weight they could endure had already been surpassed. The pain seeped deep into his bones and even cracks appeared. His entire person was flung through the air like an artillery shell. However, before Feng Lin could stabilize himself, the silhouette of the Titan flashed straight toward him. There were no emotions on the Titan's face. Its hands were clenched into fists and it used them like hammers, smashing down on Feng Lin. Feng Lin was then ruthlessly smashed to the ground. He didn't have any time to think. He instinctively leaped out and retreated with explosive speed. The power of the Titan was extremely ferocious, and its fists were like hammers that continuously launched out a barrage of attacks. Feng Lin blocked left and right and was in a very sorry state. He was completely suppressed by this opponent. Titans were the descendants of heaven and earth in Greek mythology. They had once governed the world and were innate divinities. Although this Titan before him was just an artificial one, a man-made killing weapon. It had clearly managed to awaken the Titan gene and gained a portion of the gene's strength, making it extremely fearsome. This was the first time Feng Lin was completely suppressed by an opponent in the aspects of strength and speed. This killing weapon could absolutely be classified as an elite cultivator. This was a suppression brought by the difference in cultivation realm. No matter how wondrous Feng Lin's techniques were, it was impossible for him to reverse victory into defeat. This Titan didn't use any techniques, purely depending on his overwhelming strength and speed. But this was what made him so terrifying. It was just like how Luke had fought with Feng Lin in the past. Luke's techniques were clearly leagues above Feng Lin's, yet Feng Lin had simply depended on his absolute might to crush Luke. This was what Feng Lin was feeling now. A suppression brought by the difference in their absolute mights. If it wasn't because the stone monkey gene raised his defense to an extremely high level, his body would have most probably been broken down. This can't continue. Feng Lin silently mused. He was at a complete disadvantage. He knew that if this continued on, he wouldn't be able to persist much longer. But now, he didn't even have a chance to catch his breath. There was nothing he could do. At the moment of danger, he suddenly had an inspiration. How could he have forgotten this ability? His gaze grew serene as his brain secreted out adrenaline, and it coursed through his entire body. He instantly could sense that something was different. His perspective of the world had changed, and it was like everything else was moving slower now. Bullet time. The speed of the Titan had initially caused him to be unable to track the Titan. However, he was able to see the punches now. Although the punches were still very swift, they were still in the range of what he could react to. Feng Lin agilely evaded through the gaps of the Titan's punches. Every single time, he managed to dodge by a hair, just enough for him to catch his breath. But wanting to obtain victory? There was no hope. The bullet time could only last for 20 seconds. Its duration was extremely short. After it passed, he would be in danger once more. Hence, in the limited amount of time, he had to do enough things to reverse the predicament he was in. He stared at the green giant that was standing there dumbly. All of a sudden, mental energy radiated from him. Hypnotize. The green giant had a blank look in his eyes. He suddenly roared in madness and rushed valiantly toward the Titan. Although the green giant was over 3 meters tall, it resembled a child when compared to the Titan who was over 5 meters. But luckily, the green giant's might was high enough, it had boundless strength. As it launched over, the Titan instantly found the situation to be somewhat troublesome. There was a look of wild rage on the face of the green giant. It was like a maddened wild beast, charging forward with no fear of death. Punching out with its fists and biting with its teeth, the green giant did all he could to impede the Titan. Although the Titan managed to repel the green giant every time, the Titan was finally bleeding. Green blood oozed out of his wounds, but the Titan didn't seem to sense any pain as he similarly continued to fight the green giant. The pressure on Feng Lin greatly decreased. What? Green giant, return here now. Seeing that the green giant was disturbing things, Frank was incomparably enraged. The microchip embedded in the green giant's mind caused it to instinctively follow orders. Its movements slowed and it was sent flying like a rugby ball by the Titan with a single punch. Feng Lin had long anticipated this situation. Since he had already obtained the collapsible space shuttle, Frank was of no more use to him. Leaving him alive would only spoil his plans. Feng Lin no longer showed any mercy. Seeing that the Titan and green giant were still fighting, he left the battlefield and instantly sped toward Frank. With a ruthless grab, he held Frank's throat and slowly began to increase the pressure of his fingers. Blood flowed down, splattering on the ground. What a brutal scene! Frank's eyes were wide open, and the sound of air leaking could be heard from his throat. Alas, he then died after a few moments. Before his death, he could only see a pair of eyes staring fixedly at his. He also didn't dare to believe that Feng Lin would be so ruthless and decisive, instantly taking his life. He still wanted to know more about the secrets of life. Would he simply die just like that? He was dying with regrets. Now without the interference from Frank, the green giant returned to Feng Lin's control. Under his hypnotism, the green giant charged at the Titan again and again without fear of death. Since the interfering Frank had died, Feng Lin once again shifted his attention to the Titan. Right now, he could finally begin to take steps to eliminate this powerful opponent. Feng Lin also rushed over and began to execute all his techniques: the god-beating whip imprint, sky hammer flipping imprint, immortal slaying sword imprint. All of his attacks were extremely powerful and ruthless, creating a series of explosive sounds as they slammed into the Titan. It was as though he was fighting a metallic giant. For a period of time, a human and a green giant were fiercely fighting against an artificial god. This Titan had supreme might. Its fists swept out, forcibly blocking the two of them. It was even at an advantage. Right now, the Titan's eyes swept over to Frank's corpse. A dangerous red light then gleamed within them as a robotic voice rang out. The authorized owner has died, undoing the limitation of energy. Target: to kill all living things in the surroundings. Energy index surging upwards, 50%, 51%, 52%. Boom. Vigorous energy waves radiated from the Titan like a gale in a terrifying storm. Before this, its full strength had been limited. Now that all its strength was erupting forth, it gave a feeling that it was able to turn the world topsy-turvy. Feng Lin was forced to retreat by the formless pressure. It was hard for him to stare directly at his opponent. The words from the Titan caused him to feel immense shock. So it turned out that the Titan was truly too powerful. Before this, the Titan was in a constrained state where he could only use 50% of its strength. But even then, each of his movements was enough to cause great destruction to his surroundings. Now that the authorized owner, Frank, was dead, there were no more restrictions binding it. Its power completely erupted forth. The pressure in the air seemed to turn solid, causing Feng Lin to have difficulty breathing. This was a great suppression due to the differences in their vitality stats. Is this the true strength of an elite cultivator? Feng Lin's heart sank to the valley. He knew that he couldn't continue like this or he would die for sure. The serene light in his eyes gleamed brightly, and mental energy shot forth from the center of his brows, moving toward the Titan. He wanted to replicate what he had done to the green giant, seeking to place the Titan under his control through hypnotism. Who knew? If it was successful, he might end up with an overwhelmingly powerful existence as his assistant. However, he soon discovered that his mental energy seemed to have rammed into an iron wall. The Titan opened its eyes. The same mental energy rebounded back on Feng Lin with even more power, sending him flying through the air from the impact. The might of Titans were like gods and devils. Chapter 123, Might of the Titan. Titans were innate divinities. Their mental defenses were far above Feng Lin's estimation. Not only did Feng Lin's hypnosis fail to affect the Titan, but it actually rebounded onto him, causing him to feel a splitting headache as though his head had been split apart by an axe. The mental hypnosis was a complete failure, but things weren't concluded yet. Titans were the gods of giants in mythology. As the Titan's strength limitation was gradually lifted, his original gigantic body grew even more monstrous, swiftly to a height of over 10 meters. Now, this Titan resembled a small mountain. Although it hadn't moved nearer to Feng Lin, there was a shocking pressure that already radiated forth from the Titan. Feng Lin focused his energy. He could feel a chill down his spine as his movements froze. This was a suppression due to the difference in life force. It was like how a mouse encountered a cat and a rabbit encountering a fierce tiger. Before they got near to the predators, their hearts were already trembling from fear. Having killed the authorized owner, the killer must die. An icy and emotionless voice rang out from the Titan. The stronger the Titan became, the more intense his killing intent was. This caused Feng Lin to feel as though he was buried in a land of snow and ice, with frost coating his entire body, rendering him immobile. Yet, that green giant still charged forward without a care in the world. Originally, this green giant had already been a human-shaped beast that acted only on instinct. The longer the green giant fought in combat, the more berserk its personality would be. It would gradually lose all its sense of reasoning. Fear? What was there? There were no such concepts in the Green Giant's mind. The Green Giant heavily stomped the ground, causing the ground to tremble. Its entire being leaped up in the air, and its fists were pressed together, resembling a giant hammer that smashed down from the sky. It was aiming for the Titan's head. However, a cold light could be seen flickering in the Titan's eyes. Its giant hands abruptly grabbed out with astonishing speed and managed to catch the Green Giant. The Titan held the giant in its hand and continued to pummel it continuously, just like how an adult was bullying a baby. The Green Giant had a malevolent expression on its face, struggling wildly to break free from the hold, and was prepared to resist. The Titan pressed both its hands together, wanting to squeeze the Green Giant to death, causing the Green Giant to scream in agony as creaking sounds rang out from the Green Giant's body. It was about to be squashed into a meat patty. At the same time, a fiery red beam of light was shot out from the Titan's eyes, exuding a scorching temperature, wanting to bake the Green Giant. However, the Green Giant's skin wriggled unceasingly and actually instantly swallowed up the red light filled with radiation into its own body. Its body then grew bigger as its muscles expanded. Green veins throbbed wildly as its strength increased even more, allowing it to gradually break free from the Titan's hold. Mythological? The Titan frowned, revealing an enraged expression which resembled that of human nature. Although it didn't have any emotions, as the pinnacle creation of genetic engineering, it was an artificial god whose intelligence far surpassed ordinary humans. In an instant, the Titan discovered that the Green Giant was able to absorb radiation to increase its own strength. Clearly, he wouldn't do any more foolish things that would further benefit this green-colored bug. Chi, chi, chi. After that, a bolt of lightning shot from the Titan's eyes. This high-pressure lightning caused the Green Giant to scream as its body turned black. This was where the Green Giant gene was inferior to the Stone Monkey gene. Although the Green Giant could absorb radiation energy to strengthen itself, its energy isolation and defense were way below that of the Stone Monkey gene. Both were transcendent genes, but the Green Giant had no way to resist before the might of the Titan. It was like a little child fighting against an adult. Feng Lin's gaze turned serene. This Green Giant is of a mid-grade transcendent gene, and this Titan is also of a transcendent gene. Yet, why is the difference so great? Would the difference in grades give rise to such a huge disparity in strength? Is the Titan gene a high-graded transcendent gene then? Most probably not. It's at the very least a variation grade or perfect grade transcendent gene. Feng Lin felt an intense sense of danger. Regardless of any aspect, this Titan completely outclassed him. The Titan would cause those who faced it to involuntarily feel a sense of helplessness and despair. But Feng Lin was never someone who gave up easily. Until the last moment, he would never give up. Although the Green Giant couldn't threaten the Titan, it was fortunately able to buy Feng Lin enough time. Feng Lin stood up. His entire body was taut, resembling something made out of jade. The genetic abilities of the Stone Monkey gene were unleashed to the max. His entire aura changed greatly and was like a volcano that was suppressing its might. His power was like churning lava, ready to erupt forth at any moment, engulfing everything before his eyes. In such moments of extreme danger, if he still held something back, that would simply be equivalent to courting death. Huh. Feng Lin breathed out and unleashed a sky-flipping hammer imprint, smashing down heavily with it. At this moment, the Titan merely shot a cold glance over. Its high-up and lofty gaze was like staring at a lowly bug that had overestimated its own strength and tried to go against an elephant. One of its hands squeezed, clutching the Green Giant in its hand. Soft plopping sounds rang out like how one would squeeze a meatball out from meat. As for his other hand, he casually punched out, not having any regards for Feng Lin at all. Boom! The fists collided, causing an energy wave to radiate out from the impact. The gigantic body of the Titan that was over 10 meters tall actually shook violently and nothing else happened. As for Feng Lin, he was blasted back from the impact and was slammed heavily onto the ground. Finally, this was the first time the Titan let out a sound. It contemplated in surprise. This lowly bug actually managed to shake him. This caused him to involuntarily cast another glance at this bug, but that was it, just an additional glance. However, that other larger green bug was a little troublesome. The Titan didn't care about Feng Lin. Earlier, Feng Lin's eruption of strength was just a small, unexpected incident to him. The Titan's attention was still fixed on the green giant. Although the green giant was an inferior product formed by genetic potion, it was also considered an extraordinary life form and caused the Titan some trouble. The Titan clenched its fists tightly and punched out repeatedly, wanting to smash the green giant into meat paste. The green giant's craziness didn't reduce. He howled in anger and struggled fiercely. The Titan was angered, frosty air spewed from its mouth, wanting to freeze the green giant first before using flames to roast it. Lastly, the Titan summoned electricity to numb his target, wanting to turn the green giant into charred bits. The Titan used all kinds of energy attacks. The green giant was like a green frog, captured by a naughty brat, and was subjected to all kinds of torment. No matter how high the green giant's vitality stat was, it was soon unable to endure this. His body began to weaken as his resistance decreased. Feng Lin, who was watching by the side, felt extremely astonished. He felt anger because the Titan viewed him with contempt, as well as because of his own helplessness. This Titan was able to easily use all sorts of energy attacks and had countless methods. Also, the Titan's physical body was extremely sturdy with no flaws at all. It could be said that it was perfect. Despair involuntarily arose in Feng Lin's heart. But he had to win. He couldn't sit here to wait for death. Feng Lin fixed his sights on the Titan's eyes. To creatures with extremely sturdy and muscular bodies, their soft eyeballs would always be their greatest weakness. His body suddenly leaped up ferociously, transformed into a series of afterimages as he sped forward. The green giant also carelessly punched out, aiming for the Titan. 8 trigram roaming palm. Feng Lin moved in the position of the 8 trigrams, stepping on the relative spots as his body agilely spun about, dodging the Titan's attacks as he leaped toward the Titan's arm. After that, his legs moved quickly as he scampered up the arm. The Titan's other hand slapped over with an emotionless look on its face like it was swatting a loathsome fly. Feng Lin twisted his body to the side and dodged it, continuing to run on the Titan's arms, moving toward the Titan's head area. Immortal slaying sword imprint. He got nearer and nearer, increasingly closing the distance. The eyes that were as large as soccer balls were finally right before his eyes. Feng Lin used his fingers as a sword, transforming into a sword immortal that rode on flying swords to slay their enemies in ancient times, mercilessly striking out. Fingers, arms, body. His entire person transformed into an unparalleled supreme sword and ruthlessly stabbed forth. Pooh! Blood splattered all around. Feng Lin's sword fingers stabbed deeply into the Titan's eyes, causing massive amounts of blood to flow out. The Titan finally paid a price for its carelessness and was now blinded in one eye. A giant palm instantly smacked over. After executing his attack, Feng Lin nimbly gave up the initiative and chose to retreat with rapid speed. The intense pain drove the Titan even crazier. It was now completely enraged and swallowed the green giant in its hand with a single gulp. Its mouth then crunched down, and cracking sounds rang out while black-greenish blood with a fishy smell flowed out from its mouth. To Feng Lin's shock, he discovered that although the Titan was blinded in one eye, the life force fluctuation from the Titan wasn't weakened in the slightest. In fact, it felt even more terrifying now. His heart sank deep into the valley. He understood that next, he would have to face a situation with no hope of survival. Chapter 124, No Hope of Survival. Titans were first creations among the gods in Greek mythology. They were birthed by Mother Earth Gaia and was able to devour the myriads of living creatures. They also had the power to dominate the sky and land. Titan was a race of beings, and they came in different forms and sizes. There were the thousand-eyed Titan, hundred-arms Titan, dragon-winged Titans. Each of them would have different abilities, but they were all extremely powerful. In Greek mythology, they were the strongest rivals to gods of Mountain Olympus. Countless divine wars have been fought, but the gods had no way to eradicate them completely. Because they were the descendants of Mother Earth Gaia, as long as Gaia didn't die, they would be the favored of heavens and earth, blessed by fortune and luck. And as for this artificial god, he had awakened the Titan gene, and his abilities allowed him to easily control wind, thunder, ice, fire, all sorts of energy types, enabling him to have countless attacking methods. After swallowing the green giant, the Titan's vitality stats surged even higher. After it absorbed the green giant's energy, the Titan expanded further, reaching a height of over 15 meters. A bloody eyeball was in Feng Lin's hand. He was extremely tense now. Although he had managed to injure the Titan, he also had completely infuriated it. This Titan seemed even stronger now as the pressure it radiated was more intense. Its single eye swiveled around and stared at the eyeball in Feng Lin's hand. Flames of rage rose in the Titan's heart. Roar! His mouth opened, revealing blazing flames within his throat that now surged forth with great momentum. Feng Lin rapidly dodged, but these flames were as if they were fueled by kerosene, burning everything they came in contact with and were rapidly extending forth, causing him to find it hard to evade. Bzz, bzz, bzz. The raging wind kicked up, causing a windstorm. Chi, chi, chi. Lightning crackled, arcing through the air. Ding, ding, ding. The cold ice turned to rain, threatening to freeze this space. The Titan used divine force to control all sorts of energy, burying Feng Lin within. Feng Lin felt that he would soon be melted into ashes by these chaotic currents of energy. His ability to be impervious to fire and water reached the max limit once more. He had to continue adding genetic points. Feng Lin didn't have the time to think. He used the remaining free primeval genetic point on the stone monkey gene, causing its strengthening tally to instantly change from 4 to 5. His vitality stat became 63.2, increasing by a total of 8.6. Warm currents appeared in the depths of his body, circulating all around, allowing him to recover rapidly. From this point, one could tell Feng Lin's wisdom at holding genetic points in reserve. He was able to rapidly recover from injuries and allow him to persist much longer in battles. Feng Lin's injuries lightened, and the fatigue he felt from overusing his mental energy was also washed clean. Right now, his skin became even tougher as they blocked the energy from seeping within. Hua! His punch was like thunder, capable of generating explosive impact. Feng Lin leaped up, moving like a nimble monkey, escaping the chaotic currents of energy. AI? The Titan was startled. It didn't expect that a bug whom it could crush casually to be so unyielding. Feng Lin repeated the same old tricks and hurriedly evaded. With a single leap, he leaped up the Titan's body as he frenziedly launched attacks while seeking for flaws in the Titan's defense. The Titan was extremely angered, and both of its hands continuously smacked out. Fortunately, Feng Lin was incredibly agile. He constantly shifted his position and dodged to the left and right. Also, the higher the Titan's vitality stats climbed, the larger its body grew. But due to the most basic logic of physics, its agility naturally worsened. To Feng Lin, this was actually a good thing. He depended on his small size and agileness to prance around the Titan. At this stage, he was able to easily avoid the Titan's attacks. Moreover, the Titan was blinded in one eye. Due to its vision being greatly impaired, its movements also slowed by several notches. It still had no way to do anything to Feng Lin. Feng Lin couldn't help but sigh at how fortunate he was. This Titan seemed to be skilled in all aspects, but luckily, the Titan didn't have any self-recovery ability. If not, his blinded eye would regenerate quickly, and there would truly be no hope for Feng Lin then. Using skill against strength. For a period of time, Feng Lin, as an interstellar cultivator, fought equally against the Titan, who was an elite cultivator existence that was one large stage above him. But Feng Lin was very clear that this was just an illusion. Right now, he could only dodge. It was truly immensely difficult to injure this Titan. The Titan was extremely gigantic, its body also being extremely sturdy like mountains and as tough as stone and iron. It was almost impossible to damage the Titan. Feng Lin unleashed all sorts of attacks, resulting in deafening sounds when they hit the Titan. But no matter what he tried, he had no way to break the Titan's defense. For this point, it was how other people felt when they fought against Feng Lin, completely helpless and full of despair. And at this moment, after the Titan suffered a major disadvantage, his recognition of Feng Lin began to rise. One of his hands protected his remaining eye, not wanting to give Feng Lin any more chance to get near him. As for the Titan's other hand, it was lashing out attacks, aiming for Feng Lin. Bang, bang, bang. The Titan's strength was simply too high. To capture Feng Lin, the Titan went all out, smacking with all parts of its body, causing thunderous sounds to ring out. With every palm slammed out, Feng Lin felt as though a giant mountain was rushing right at him. His body wasn't as tough as the Titan, and once he was hit, he would surely become a pile of meat paste. Feng Lin dodged around. This wasn't dancing on a steel wire, it was like dancing on a landslide instead. If he was the slightest bit careless, he would be completely crushed and even his bones wouldn't remain. The Titan's eyes turned red, shooting out fiery rays of energy akin to light beams from ray guns. He also realized that Feng Lin had the ability to be immune to energy effects. Hence, he chose to concentrate all the energy into light rays that were incomparably scorching, allowing his attacks to gain extreme speed. Although Feng Lin didn't fear this that much, he wouldn't stand there stupidly to receive the attack. He was rapidly dodging the light rays. These light rays were too hot, and even the Titan himself wasn't able to endure it. After Feng Lin evaded the light rays, conspicuous red imprints appeared on the Titan's skin. It seemed that it had been burned from using the light rays to track Feng Lin as Feng Lin pranced around. This caused the Titan to roar in agony. Feng Lin's heart stirred. This was a good opportunity. He hurriedly dashed over, guiding the Titan to shoot out more light rays to injure the Titan itself. Feng Lin would occasionally be lightly grazed by the light rays. Just the slightest contact caused him to feel a burning, intense pain at the areas where he was grazed. His heart sank. Feng Lin knew that if he was truly hit by one of the rays, he would definitely not be able to endure this degree of injury. Gradually, the Titan felt that something was wrong. By doing this, not only did it fail to injure the little bug, but it was injuring itself instead. This bug was like a flea that kept jumping around its body. Although the flea wasn't able to hurt him, it was truly extremely frustrating. After a long time, the Titan still had no way to capture Feng Lin. The Titan changed its method and right now, he spun rapidly on the spot like a spinning top, increasing the speed of its revolution. The large amount of centrifugal force caused Fenglin to feel extremely unstable. He felt like he was about to fall off at any moment. He silently groaned, instantly realizing the Titan's intent. He hurriedly used both of his hands to grab hold of a part of the Titan's body, wanting to stabilize himself. The air whistled past his ears. Fenglin felt his surroundings blurring, and if he didn't hold on tightly, he would soon be thrown off. However, by doing this, he was also restricting his own movements. Although the Titan was still spinning, both of his hands could move freely, and right now, they were both moving toward Fenglin. Fenglin was in a bad situation whether he dodged the pair of hands or whether he continued to hold on. This was simply an extremely dire situation. But when the Titan's hands neared him, he couldn't care anymore. He released his grab and tried to use the momentum to jump up in the air. But by doing this, he lost the opportunity to freely move about since he was now in the air. A fist that was akin to a small mountain then heavily slammed over. Fenglin felt as though he was being slammed by a hammer. His bones were on the verge of breaking down, while his body was flung through the air like a cannon. Could it be that everything will end like this? Fenglin felt a deep sense of helplessness, and his heart was filled with extreme reluctance. All of a sudden, he felt as though his head had hit a hard object. He had actually managed to penetrate through the glass cabin used to conduct the divine blood ritual. The glass was something he wasn't able to break earlier. An endless flow of the unknown blood that was filled with life force gushed over, burying him within, unceasingly corroding his body, his organs, his cells and his genes. This was truly a situation where there was no hope of survival. Chapter 125, Living Toward Death. The blood seethed and gushed into Fenglin's body through his 7 apertures and any other openings on his body. They were scorching hot like lava. Fenglin had been inflicted with serious injuries to begin with, and these blood had great corrosive prowess, causing him to feel intense pain inside out as if his entire body was going to rot. He summoned the last bit of his mental energy to assess the inside of his body. Those blood seemed to have a life of their own, gushing up like piranhas, treating Fenglin like a prey and gushing into his body with all they had. Fenglin could sense that they were like small bugs which incessantly made their way into the depths of the human body and gnawed on the human genes, wanting to turn him into some kind of unknown existence. He had previously avoided this divine blood ritual but hadn't expected to still end up in it. He knew that if he didn't resist, he might end up unscathed and directly turned into one of those children of God with blonde hair and blue eyes. Even those weak researchers could withstand the divine blood ritual. Given that his vitality was a lot stronger than theirs, it simply didn't make sense for him to be unable to do the same. However, it was impossible to get Fenglin to give up on resisting. For Fenglin to give up on his blood lineage and turn into those disgusting egg humans? No way. This was the baseline he had as a human. It was impossible to force him to change his mind regarding this, no matter what the situation he was in. Tossing away his emotional elements, Fenglin wouldn't choose to change his blood lineage even if it was based on reason. Based on mankind's history accounts, Huaxia civilization was the only ancient civilization that had continued on from the ancient era to the technological era and then the interstellar era. It also had the most brilliant myths and legends. There were no lack of awesome characters from the myths and legends who would fight against the heavens and wipe out the earth. There were also plenty of transcendent characters who could even control the natural laws. In comparison, the characters from other civilizations' myths and legends were merely slaves to the natural laws. They were merely existences who didn't live up to their reputations. Once they fell from their divinity status, as the masses stopped believing in them, they would be nothing. Huaxia's celestial beings and generals relied on their own powers and weren't fearful of falling from their statuses. Based on just in terms of freedom and potential, the path of Huaxia's myths and legends would be wider compared to that of other civilizations. It was fine if he didn't know about this. However, Feng Lin was extremely familiar with the myths and legends from various ancient civilizations. Would he choose to do such a foolish thing in neglecting what was important and focusing on what was less important? Of course, he wouldn't. Therefore, Feng Lin would definitely not choose to turn into an egg human. His strong resistance seemed to have stimulated the divine blood ritual's rage. The blood-red-colored god's blood kept on seething, faintly showing the signs of an ineffable rage. They came surging forth like tidal waves, bent on completely engulfing this person who was trying to go against God's will. The god's blood encompassed Feng Lin's entire body like wiggling bugs, turning him into a blood figure. Feng Lin sat cross-legged within it, guarding himself strongly. However, the god's blood kept on trying to find gaps to squeeze their way into his body. It felt extremely painful. The god's blood kept on seething. It was an extremely strange and horrifying sight. Even that titan didn't dare to get close when it saw Feng Lin sinking into the divine blood ritual. Its stiff and robotic face revealed a wary expression. Feng Lin, who was within it, felt even more excruciating. This mustn't go on. Feng Lin felt that he must find out the truth behind the god's blood and look for a way to counter it. His mental energy was activated to an extreme, and he started scanning. The sight displayed before him was extremely strange and horrifying. Many blood-red-colored cells appeared. Although he called them cells, they might be more suited to be called some kind of microorganisms. These blood-red-colored cells had sharp mouths growing all over them. They kept on opening their mouths, engulfing non-stop. They looked extremely savage. When they entered his body, they kept on engulfing his cells and turning them into another form. They used the genes they carried with them to replace the genes that had been there previously. Feng Lin felt disgusted. To think that this was what the divine blood ritual was. This method of changing one's genes made him think of a horror movie he had watched in his previous life, Dark Water. This was simply like turning him into a monster. It was something he couldn't tolerate. He must find a way to save himself. What should he do? These cells in the god's blood were so strange and had astonishing vitality, filled with energy. Could they be refined? With a single thought, Feng Lin started to circulate the process of transforming energy into qi. His gastric was like a cauldron, no longer putting up any resistance. Instead, it started to engulf the god's blood in big mouthfuls. He was going all out to refine them. The moment these gods' blood entered his body, it was like quenching thirst with poison, causing his entire body to feel intense pain. The technique of transforming energy into qi circulated by itself, acting like a fire cauldron, incinerating and refining them, turning them into scorching heat waves that flowed into his body. The god's blood also sensed a danger and kept on seething in his body, stirring up Feng Lin's internal organs into a state of upheaval. Feng Lin felt intense pain both within and outside his body. He almost fainted. However, he forcibly hung on with his will. If he were to faint, then he would definitely die. He must hang on. The cells in the god's blood had astonishing power. After they were refined, they were as thick as magma. Feng Lin felt as if he was going to be stuffed to the extent of bursting. Such a strange thing was definitely not something that the giant pharmaceutical company could have. Was it the interstellar headquarters? Feng Lin's heart turned grim. He had heard Frank mention something about it before, that the giant pharmaceutical company was merely a subsidiary company in the solar system. There was still the headquarters above it. These thoughts flashed past his mind for a split second. In this critical moment, how could he possibly afford to think so much? Feng Lin focused all of his efforts to refine the god's blood. Genetic potential plus 60%, plus 60%, plus 60%. The rate the genetic potential was increasing far surpassed his imagination. Feng Lin was elated. This was really a good thing. If he could strengthen the stone monkey gene, his resistance would increase tremendously and the refinement rate would also become increasingly fast. In the end, it would completely digest all of the cells in the god's blood, transforming them into nutrition for his body's replenishment. His genetic potential shot up like a rocket, quickly reaching a free primeval genetic point. Feng Lin decisively added the point. The stone monkey gene reached 6 points, and it would hit the maximum after 4 more points. What he thought of previously was right. His body recovered, and his vitality strengthened. The rate at which the god's blood was being refined also increased tremendously, and his genetic potential also soared incessantly. Genetic potential plus 70%, plus 70%, plus 70%. Feng Lin gradually turned the tables around, fighting against the god's blood. However, the god's blood seemed to have noticed this as well. They started to have a unified will and started seething. They couldn't allow a mortal to resist God's will. Suddenly, the blood condensed rapidly, turning into something that was like a materialized blood figure that pounced toward Feng Lin. Ah! The balance was instantly tipped over. Feng Lin felt excruciating pain. This will was extremely terrifying, having the intrinsic quality that far transcended that of mortals. It stood high up, looking down proudly on the rest of the world, causing him to be unable to fight back and gradually causing his consciousness to sink. Feng Lin's thoughts sank deeper and deeper as if it had fallen into a bottomless pit and gradually into the depths of a person's heart. Endless darkness gathered from all directions, gushing over like tidal waves, drowning him and making it hard for him to wake up. Facing against this mutated divine characteristic, a violent thought of wanting to annihilate the entire world suddenly rose in his heart. The stone monkey gene in his body flashed strongly, throbbing like a heart. What kind of celestial crap was this? Perish! Feng Lin's body curled up uncontrollably, like a fetus in the womb. Stratum corneum grew on his body, wrapping him up like a stone shell, forming a stone egg. The stone shell was formed from origin chaos and was completely impeccable, not allowing any energy leakage at all. The god's blood was stopped firmly on the outside. Feng Lin's consciousness sank in deep. At the critical moment, he managed to stimulate the stone monkey gene by chance. He went against the flow of the time, searching for the ancient memories and mythological legacies at the end of that river of time. He wanted to look for the true indestructible nature of his body. Seeking the cause in oneself rather than from somebody else. Living toward death.